Hey, America, here we are. We're live again. You're listening to Restore the Republic, the voice of the people who's had enough. Enough of the corrupt judges, enough of the rogue cops, enough of the lawyers who twist the laws and the politicians who trample them. This is a show that dares to ask what happened to our de jure American government and how do we get it back. I'm your host, Sheriff Andrew Ike, on Unincorporated, Richland County, Ohio. And every week we expose the lies and decode the legal traps and empower you to reclaim what's rightfully yours. No fluff, no compromise, just facts. Just facts. Well, with me as always, Sheriff Adam Bonner, Unincorporated Summit County. How's it going, Adam?
Hey, what's going on?
Doing all right?
Yeah, not doing too bad. How about yourself?
Doing good. Looking forward to this. We got a special guest with us, and we got another one coming in. He's running a little late, but we have Andrew Menson. He is a state national on Unincorporated Lincoln County, Missouri. How's it going, Andrew?
Pretty good.
Welcome.
Yeah, we've been, we try to get more people on the podcast so that people around the country can see. We got all the states occupied. They're all in session. I'm trying to get more and more on, let the people see and share with us, What's that?
There's a lot of us.
There is. We're growing. We're restoring this damn republic back to what it once was, The good thing is we're doing it lawfully and peacefully. It's the one thing that they cannot hold against us. Well, anyways, tonight we're just going to have a little roundtable discussion, and we're going to call it the unmasking of the administrative state. We're going to let out some information. Anybody got questions, throw them in the comment section. We'll try to get to them. But tonight we're going to talk about what is government really? What is it? Adam, are the people governed by consent or by assumption?
Well, if you ask the de facto, they believe it's by their assumptions and presumptions, but it was supposed to be contractually what they took an oath to by consent. But you can't force consent. That's where we have a problem. That's why a lot of people are waking up to seeing something's wrong with being forced into legal processes and procedures. And we talk about this all the time. It's happened to me. It's happened to hundreds of people I've spoke to. I've seen thousands of affidavits where they're just slinging crap on the wall and hoping it sticks. So, yeah, by consent is what it's supposed to be.
Andrew, any thoughts?
But it depends if you know who the real government is.
Of course, yeah.
There's that part. Right.
Yeah. I wish more people would realize that the whole population is the government, not the people that are put in place to be corporate. Sorry.
It's all right.
I lost my word.
Corporate entities, maybe?
Well, corporate entities, but corporate saboteurs at the same time.
There you go. Yeah. So, I think you guys are right. It is supposed to be up by our consent. I think the power structure, everybody thinks here recently in the recent decades, they get people so dumbed down to think they're the almighty God and the power flows downward, to the people, when in fact, the people have the damn power and we're supposed to tell them what to do or what they can and can't do. They only have certain delegated powers. And, look what's going on right now in this country, the world. It's out of control. We have to rein it back in. It's going to be hard, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah, save that part for Matt. He's pretty swift with all the enumerated powers and that whole thing.
Yeah. All right. So what does political status actually mean in your daily life, Andrew?
Well, this may sound kind of corny, but it's the truth. So part of correcting your status is kind of taking a learning curve and learning that what you learned wasn't true. And it takes a lot. And sometimes you find more comfort in the lies that you've been taught, but you just have to remember that you're not going to get anything from that. You're not even comfort in the end. So I know that sounds kind of corny, but it is what it is.
No, I think you're spot on. Earlier today, I was just thinking about something kind of like what you just said, on how we're restoring our American government, but there's so many people that are on assistance. And, kind of it's a touchy situation because rightfully so, everybody's hurting, nobody has any money, but yet we have to do it. We have to pick up the slack and get off the teat of the nanny state.
Well, this government entity, this corporate government entity and structure has actually kind of it's like a spider's web that's like wrapped around you like a ball. Every time you try to find an exit, you end up stuck in the web, and every little turn you take, you just get stuck again because you're not given a window or an avenue to get through that's clear.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
I agree.
so you just end up, getting caught up in the system, and the system chews you up and spits you out because it's like 30 or 40 of them against you, and they're just doing their job, which
Yeah.
is the sad part. And it's compartmentalized so badly that you have all these different departments that cover all these other different departments, that by the time it's all said and done, you filed 30 different documents just to hold one officer or one public official accountable, and you've gotten nowhere. Not so
I
much
know, but
ethics judgment at that point.
I agree. I agree with you. But that's what they told the guards at Auschwitz. That you should have known better.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways,
Well,
go
yeah,
ahead,
the
Adam. Go ahead.
The difference is in our jurisdiction, you have the right to self-governance, to not have anybody molest or interfere with your day-to-day activities. You have the right to choose which agency you're going to contract with, if any at all. And they can't force that. They can't claim that, well, you sign this. Well, there's a lot of things that people sign because they're not given full disclosure. If they were given full disclosure, do you think
They would have never done it.
Exactly. So once we get away from all of that type of stuff, and we start operating our courts the way that they were meant to be operated as the check to their balance, we were always supposed to be here running concurrently alongside them to be the check in case if they got out of line. The problem with it is they've just made us go away altogether, and they claim that they're filling vacated positions that we're starting to fill back into.
Yeah.
And the problem is that they know that they have things on their side right now because public education systems don't teach the proper history. They breadcrumb bits and pieces, and they do it that way to keep everybody at each other's throats. Obviously we got Black History Month. Well, if you actually know history, you'll know that that's just really a protagonist, in keeping all these racial debates and stuff going. And then when you get into feminism, that type of thing, men are at women's necks these days worse than it's ever been in history. I'm not saying don't be opinionated, don't work, don't, all that stuff, whatever. If you want to be traditional, stay home, do all that, that's great. If you want to work, that's great too. But all the ideologies that come with the teaching, and we call it feminazism, that's kind of what's happening. So you got racial debates and wars going on, you got that tension, you got people not procreating or wanting to get married, and eventually that's going to cause more harm than good. But the people that are at the top profiting, the small few, they're the ones really benefiting. Society's not, because we're going to get smaller and smaller, and after a generation we're not going to have enough workers to come in and take care of us as we age.
Yeah.
So it's really not good.
You're right. I think the bringing back the nuclear family idea,
Right.
is the key to a lot of stuff. What was you gonna say, Andrew?
I like to explain the government like if somebody explained to you the cost of ownership of a brand new vehicle. So if you knew over the lifetime of that vehicle that you were going to pay 3 to 4 times its value just to maintain it to 150,000 miles, including the fluids, and actually not even including gas, including glass, it puts it times 4. All right. By the time that vehicle is all used up, and it's kind of secondhand for another person, it's got so many problems with it that you don't want it, so it becomes somebody else's problem. So then the other person that buys your car is the next person that gets voted in. So, and then they have to continue to fix that POS to make it work for you. But it doesn't.
There you go.
Right.
I'll tell you what, the political status thing to me is it's everything you guys are saying, but it really makes me proud, really proud to say I am not a U.S. citizen. I enjoy that. When people, you know how they condescendingly say, well, are you a U.S. citizen? Do you pay your taxes? Hell no. Hell no. Why would I do that? It makes me so proud to say that. It really does.
I'll just let you take that from there, because that's one that really gets me going. Why would I give free money to somebody who didn't work for it,
Yeah.
So,
well, now they're seeing it happen on the Minnesota. Now it's all coming out. What they're going to find out is it's in every single county. It's not just.
Well, hey,
it's not just.
You're right, Andrew. You're right, because you know what? If you noticed on the fake ass media, Minnesota and Columbus, Ohio, our state is the second biggest population there now. Now I have nothing against Somalian people.
Not at all.
Nothing against nobody. But if you're in my state, and I know you're probably doing the same things they're doing in Minnesota, it's wrong.
Oh, well,
you're wrong.
What
You got to go. Go ahead.
What people don't realize is with us, the way we've corrected our status and knowing the information that we know, we can do the exact same thing as those Somalis and just start raking in tons of money from the government fraudulently because we know how to file the paperwork. All it takes is a little bit of research and a couple tax forms and an address. You can make
there's agencies out there that actually do that.
Well, hey, here we go. We got a hot question for that section. If you say you're free, but every part of your life is regulated, Adam, are you actually free?
Not at all. Not one bit. Now,
Andrew?
Is that willingly?
Sorry. Yeah,
No.
I don't
No.
know.
Did you get full disclosure as to, what they're regulating, like what all that entails? You're probably not seeing the majority of what it really means. So why would you want to agree to something that you don't comprehend totally? You're not being given an offer, equal consideration, and then, whether you accept or deny. So when they take that aspect out, is that a legally binding or lawfully binding contract at that point? Well, they skip steps. So I would say it's not lawfully binding. It should have no force and effect.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Andrew.
Because they took a copy of your soul, they're all good to go.
Right.
I mean, if you want to sign something as a baby on your foot, with your foot, that's all up to you, right?
Exactly. Well, let's talk about a little bit about the sheriff's law enforcement and authority. What is the sheriff's actual role? I was going to say constitutional role, but that don't sit really well with me because everybody thinks the sheriff. We have this debate before, me and Adam. We have sheriffs out here that say they're constitutional, but they're still U.S. citizens. And they're getting paid by the de facto, and they have collaborative agreements with them. So knowing all that, are they really constitutional, or are they just saying that to make the people feel good? So I guess the question, Adam, is what is the sheriff's actual constitutional duty or role?
Our type of sheriff or
yes,
type?
The American sheriffs, soil jurisdiction sheriffs.
Well, our job is to uphold the public law. The people create the law. They say what they want to actually abide by. And once that stuff all gets, voted in and approved across the country, we uphold that and we stand with the people to defend their rights so that way they're not being trafficked or harmed in any type of way.
Yeah.
And we also do mediation, and we can also hold sheriff's court if necessary for certain types of things. And in the absence of a justice, we can hold full blown trials and stuff like that. It's historically documented. I'm not talking about Rockefeller's history, his story. I'm talking about like legitimate, historical facts, and there's plenty of data to cover it. There's a plethora of things that we do. I mean, we can do all kinds of stuff. Obviously, when it comes to checks and balances, we can hold the de facto accountable for things that they're doing. But the reason they get away with so many things is because we haven't been here in so long. There's been a lot of vacated positions. That's why there's not been any accountability. They're not going to hold themselves accountable because then the whole system would collapse because of the collaborative agreements, the collusion and conspiracy.
Well, Andrew, you said to me that you were thinking about running for an election in your county over there in Missouri for sheriff. So what do you think is the sheriff's actual constitutional role?
Well, to uphold and support, or to uphold and actually use the Constitution how it's supposed to be used. The other part of that is supporting the people and the population. So there's the sheriff's job doesn't end with law enforcement. It doesn't stop with it's across the board. He's the president of the county. So, and that's what people don't realize is each little county is its own little republic. And the republic is holding to a federal jurisdiction, kind of, but it's also held to a constitutional jurisdiction per state and for whatever we agree outside. But for all intents and purposes, the sheriff can go in, they can nullify stuff, you can set stuff in motion, you can actually get actual change to work. So if you want actual infrastructure, if you want to have free power, if you want free water, if you want infrastructure that actually works, the sheriff is actually somebody who supports and tries to make that stuff occur. That way that your population is supported in a manner that if anything happens, they're able to get to what they need. They're able to survive. They're able to survive.
Bingo. That's a good one. I just think, for me, bottom line, I like to tell people, we're here to protect you and your property. Protect the men and women of your county and their property. That's for me. But anyways, That was a good one. Adam, are sheriffs accountable to the people or the state?
Yeah, to the people.
Exactly.
Now, if we're talking commercially, the commercial guys, I mean, it depends on if the county has a recall process. I know that we don't. We haven't had that type of office since, I think, the late 70s, early 80s. Some places, their counties actually have a impeachment process or recall process. If not, then you would have to go through the state, because the Attorney General's office would have to, work that on the commercial side. As far as we go, we have recall processes, our General Assemblies. So,
all right. Well, I got one for you, Andrew. Why do some LEOs, why do law enforcement officers enforce policy as if it were law?
Okay. So this one kind of comes down to education, training, and indoctrination. So they don't understand or know the law, or they'd be a lawyer, or any sort of legal anything. All right. These are the guys that are supposed to know the laws, so they don't break them themselves. All right, but they don't know any of them, so they forcefully and fraudulently hold you to stuff that they don't even understand the definition of.
Yeah.
So, and it really does come down to education, training, and actually a lot of these officers and stuff need more psychological evaluation. Like, again, all these people, they're first responders, so they're met with a bunch of blood, guts, gore, and stuff that no normal person should see on a regular basis. So I've taken
part of the job.
I've taken that into a lot of consideration in everything that I'm doing. because I don't want to cause undue stress to where their job's stressful enough. All right,
Yeah.
without adding what I'm doing on top of it, trying to get them. I've tried to even like, hey, can we do constitutional seminars? Can we go over, Bill of Rights? Can we go over human rights? Can we go over our God-given rights? Can we hit these note points just so we can all just sit in a room and have a conversation about this?
Yeah.
To no avail.
Well, you know what? That leads right into what I was thinking. These Leos, they swear an oath to the Constitution, yet
To who, though?
none of them know the Constitution. They don't know any of the amendments. They don't know.
I've met one.
Really? Well, I'm starting to think that
Yeah, there's only a few I've met.
I'm starting to think because of all the online, when you see them on YouTube, all the auditors, First Amendment auditors, these guys are actually starting to learn a little bit because they're getting schooled left and right.
Yeah, that's sad.
Kind of fun to watch.
Well, in our sheriff's training, Andy, we actually cover all these pertinent things. We cover a little bit about what they do, what they're doing, how it's wrong, how it's a violation against American people. And we also, we do our side of things. So that way our deputies are pretty well rounded and they know what they're talking about and they'll stand on it. I think that's important, and that's kind of why I became the founder of the PSO, because I wanted to create a bridge. Just like when I was in engineering, I wanted to create a bridge with designs that convey enough information for the tradesmen. Because how many places have you heard just have crappy prints? The skilled tradesmen can't read the stuff. They're constantly waiting, wasting time and money until they have an engineer.
Fill out a PLC program sheet. And then you're trying to figure out what wire goes where and where you need to program it to and what to program it to. And it's just,
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
That's the process anyways. As far as PSO is concerned, we wanted to create a bridge to, offer them educational material. So that way they know where we're coming from. So a lot of what we're seeing is pushback. You guys don't have authority or, whatever. I mean, they'll see eventually. And it's that attitude, which is why we're in the situation we're in, is because of that type of attitude,
Yeah. Well, hey, what happens when one of these Leos or commercial sheriffs refuse to act or don't act upon, they're supposed to serve and protect, but what happens if they don't act upon that?
You want to take that or you want me to touch on it?
I can go. That's actually the big question. To hold at least one of them accountable would be nice. To get them to do their job in the first place would be great. But as far as holding them accountable, the only way to do that would be to basically drag up all their dirty laundry, and I'm not going to do that to somebody. I would rather them man up and make the changes that need to be made.
There you go.
That's in the past. Let's move forward. If we can fix it moving forward, we can let bygones be bygones. But if you're going to sit there and fight, in the end, it's not going to turn out how you want it to turn out because you lack jurisdiction, know-how, and actual, how do I put this? You're doing a job. You don't understand why you're doing the job. And I think that's the best way to put it because I think most of these sheriffs have lost sight of what they're actually supposed to be doing. I understand that they serve a big community, but that community should have a different type of support than having, road pirates. That's not a community service.
Right. So I'll give them the opportunity to communicate, to come to the table, whether it's at my deck, if I request they're not coming to my house. I'll meet them somewhere neutral. It's not going to be at their department. I've seen too many, nonsensical scenarios play out. So, yeah, I'll speak with whoever it is that I need to address, and we'll come to terms. And if not, then you're getting your ass impeached. I'm not going to sit here and waste my time. I got plenty of stuff to do, and I'm not going to deal with tyrants running around acting like they know what the hell they're doing when they don't. They're causing more of an issue than relief. And we don't need that type of burden on us on top of what we're already trying to take on. And I'm not saying that as a tough guy, but I do have a 10-step process, and they're going to start getting yoked from their job. So,
Hey, we got a comment from Eric Lim, I think it is, 5416. Says, Sheriff in Hocking County, Ohio, is a policy enforcement officer. Well, I would probably agree with you because most of them are.
Yeah.
But it leads right into our hot question. The question is, if the sheriff is the highest peace officer, why do people still get arrested for victimless crimes? Adam?
that's a loaded question.
It's a very loaded question.
Well, if you actually look at what their processes and procedures are and their policy, that's why they deal with things the way that they do, because it's probably related to some revised code or ordinance. And so that's why they proceed. Because if you educated them on the side of the road with false arrest and imprisonment, or the treaties on false arrest and imprisonment, and you're talking about warrants or the fact that they got to take you before a magistrate, you could educate them all day long, but a lot of them aren't going to really get that.
Yeah, that's where the ego gets blown up and they start breaking windows and crap. Andrew, you got any thoughts on
Or
that?
they start calling you names.
All the above. So my whole thing comes down to indoctrination, education, training, lack of humanity, and still doesn't know the law. That being, I hate saying it like this, but lack of common sense and common understanding of common law is a big issue. And if you have a sheriff, and I'm not trying to Bible thump or anything, but most of them, if they're not Christian, they really don't even uphold the Constitution at all to begin with. Which I'm not trying to, again, you can't interpret a lot of our laws without understanding or reading the St. James Bible, and it was meant to be that way. That's like that whole thing, Granny. Hey, did you read your Bible? There's a ton of money in the Bible. You didn't open it, so you don't know. But if you would have, read it, you would have known more, and you would have known better what to do with the money.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the counties that I see around mine, it seems like they're all in bed together. The law enforcement officers, the sheriff, and they're working for the same corporation. So basically, They are in bed together, and it's all one big ball. And nobody wants to disrupt that system.
What was that term? They don't want to shit where they eat.
Yeah,
that's what every attorney. They don't want to shit where they eat, and that's been my hardest battle so far, is trying to find somebody who will take a shit on the judge's desk. That's what I want. But those guys,
that's
you got to
pay. Though they're not a real judge.
Guy, but
they're ALJs, administrative law judges. They got magistrates under them, and most of the time they're operating outside the oath they took, if they even have one that's current at all. And they're foreign agents on top of it, and they're claiming that they're a political party donor. So that would mean that they're a U.S. citizen, and a U.S. citizen cannot sit a bench.
Nope.
So
and that's another one. Most of them don't even have oaths of office that are appropriate, or bonds to be even there. So, and some of the judges, I found out that they're using I would not say certain. So for instance, my first name's Andrew on my birth certificate. I go by Andy. So they're doing that. So I don't want to use the judge's name. So it'll be like the difference between David and Dave, but they'll have Judge Dave blah blah blah, and that'll be on the county record. But their real name is David blah blah blah. But it's different because if you try to search it in a different way, they don't come up the same. So it's like an alias. And I know
right. So if you look up at the Supreme Court in your state where they probably went to get their bar or whatever, not going to go into all that, but if you actually look up what their name is on that when they got, registered, versus how they're appearing at the county or state level, whichever, if they're federal or, Nisi Prius court, or administrative tribunal, whichever you want to go off of there.
Found all of it. And
You'll see that a lot of times middle initials aren't there. Sometimes there's a middle initial with the period, whereas on their bar registration, their little dues card that they call a license, you'll see that it's just their first and last name, or maybe it's their full name, but at the county level where they work, it might just be some other variation because they're operating under somewhat. It's probably an LLC, type of deal set up that
with
way
an EIN number and a few other things. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm getting at. So,
all right, let's go to a new topic. New topic is
somehow.
The new topic is rights versus privileges. Are you using them or losing them?
Losing.
Andrew, the difference between an inherent right and government granted privileges.
A government granted privilege would be a driver's license. Our inherent right would be the right to travel. So you can go anywhere you want by any means. Again, that any license to do anything that's given to you or made you get to do a job or something is from a corporation, and it's a license for something that you could just do by yourself. So any issuance of something that says that you like, for instance, a college degree, it's just a piece of paper. And right now, most of them are useless. So it's not worth the paper it's printed on. So
that's what this foreign corporation's done. It's taken our inherent rights that we all have, licensing them, and now they're privileged. Now they're privileges, and people just are not wrapping their head around this stuff. And it's like, come on, really?
And they're assigning a fee to it. So
yeah.
Anyhow, you have the right to travel from point A to point B unencumbered, unmolested. It's very well documented, and they say that it's so infantile and so adolescent of a question as to, if you can be impeded. The Supreme Court said they shouldn't even have to speak to that. Everybody has a God-given right to move freely, right? I mean, it seems like anymore, though, you get stopped and asked 50 questions on your way to go to the gym or to go to the store, or, you go to a concert venue and you apparently fit the description of somebody from 5 states away. There's a bolo out. Dude, that's not how a Terry stop works, man.
Your vehicle is suspicious.
Ohio.
Andrew, why do our rights seem to be shrinking all the time?
Because you're consenting to the shrinkage, because you've been slowly signing them away. Every time
or you're not aware of what they're changing constantly because you're not a part of that.
You don't follow
decision making.
Nobody watches what Congress does. Nobody goes on to is it CCAM? What's the C-SPAN. C-SPAN. Nobody watches C-SPAN. Nobody pays attention to what you're doing. When's the last time you watched your city council meeting? When's the last time you showed up? When's the last time that you stayed there for 3 different events because they split it between 3? Actually, do you mind if I go over this real quick? I was looking at how they slip this stuff through on the county level. So basically, what they'll do is they'll introduce a bill. They'll have it for review. They'll take it up the next time. They'll have kind of a vote on it, and then they'll finalize it the next meeting. So they've broken it down to where this one decision has taken 3 meetings to happen. But if you have anything against it, you can only make the one. You're screwed. So no matter what, they keep pushing through what they want to get pushed through because they split it up into different sections, call it something different, slip it in under something else, and nobody's the wiser.
Yeah, it's kind of like some assemblies do that too. They'll do stuff during the workday when people are out and they're busy. And, a lot of times they'll have a pre-meeting before the actual one where people show up after work. And they'll already have everything weaseled through by noon. So they'll have very little business to talk about by the time you get there at 5. And then sometimes they'll wait until after hours. They'll have, after dinner meetings and, they'll squeeze through the rest of the stuff. It's just like how Congress does things in the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning.
Who's up all the time? They can't get all those people up at that time.
Right.
Well, over here around my area, I've noticed that all these city councils, in all the counties, everything is a declared emergency.
Mhm.
They run it through real quick. I think so people can't stop it, or it's weird.
Here
We're
we've
gonna
had a
figure that out.
tiebreaker incident.
What's that?
Here we've had a tiebreaker incident where it's always 3 against 3, and you know who gets to break the tie? The guy in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like being put in them situations because.
Oh, he puts himself in that situation.
Oh,
So he
okay.
can make it go through. Yeah. Oh, they stack the deck against the people that they're going against. So I know that sounds weird. So for instance, I called out the mayor, and then the mayor had one of his crony officers come get me.
Yeah.
So like it's one of those things. They use all these resources to their own advantage, but they don't realize on the other side of that, if you're using, like, the mayor has been writing out checks that don't have who they go to, where they went. There's just money for whatever. You might like toilet repair, $500, something like that, and he's not held accountable for any of the things that happen. No receipts, no nothing, stuff like that, but
Mhm.
they push through these things like this in order to make it to where it's hard to follow, to where you don't know what's going on, and to where they, how do I put this? They've staggered it out in such a way that it's almost impossible to follow, even if you're the one sitting up there and voting on it, which is
Yeah.
nuts.
Well, yeah, exactly. I just know that a lot of these city councilmen, councilwomen, boards of commissioners, they seem to think the people aren't going to eventually hold them accountable.
Oh,
They're
it's
on the
gonna.
gravy train right now, doing all kinds of unlawful shit, and they just seem to think this stuff's going to keep going on, and the people are going to keep putting up with it.
You know
I'm
what the cool
telling
part
you,
about all of it is? They're recording all of it.
yeah.
Every little bit of it, everything, every decision they make, they're recording it. So you can
Well, the hammer's
literally
going to
use their
drop here
evidence
sooner
against
or
them.
later. All right. Well, here's the hot question for this subject: the rights and privileges. If a right can be taken away for non-compliance, was it ever a right, Adam?
No. And that's the word right there, right compliance, right? Non-compliance. That's referring to a code, statutory law. Um, 94 to 96% of those were created for federal employees. Now, bear with me. I mean, everybody's been unlawfully converted as an individual, taxpayer, different types of persons that are subject to federal employee codes and regulations as if you were employed. Have you ever received a check from the federal government if you never served in any governmental capacity in any job? Other than being in the military, I could say no to that because I never received a paycheck from the federal government as a federal employee outside of those service years. So the answer people should be taking heed to is, no, you're not a federal employee. You're not being paid to serve as a federal employee, are you? I mean, without consent, anyway. Go ahead, Andy.
So here's my whole problem with so everybody that has a social security number, and every business that has an EIN is technically a federal entity.
Mhm.
And they've made it that way so that you can operate in commerce.
Right.
And they've turned you into a commodity.
Yeah.
True.
Which is crazy to think about. That
A
commodity, they
A
can.
debtor, slave, right?
Yeah. So, and if your slave gets out of line, what do you do to it?
You put it back into
Put it
compliance.
back in line. Put it back into compliance. So if you don't want to follow our rules, well, we're going to make you do it. Well, here's the issue: if you know your rights, you know what to do. They can't make you.
It's by consent, but see, the majority of the stuff that I've ever witnessed was by force, threat, duress, or coercion, or all three at once.
Oh, that's what.
It gets brutal at times, I mean, we were just talking about this case that happened down in Mansfield not that long ago that, there's a massive lawsuit over, this old guy got slammed and roughed up, ended up in the hospital for like 6 or 7 weeks, busted ribs, the whole nine, all because he was out past curfew and he was walking across the street to get a pop at a soda machine.
Hey, he
And,
was jaywalking, damn it. This guy was jaywalking, and they
Says
got it
who?
on film. And they got it on film. It was about midnight. It's dark out. You can see the lights from the street. Not a car in sight. This guy got stopped for jaywalking.
Are you?
And, his punishment for jaywalking was to get thrown to the ground, and he broke 6 or 7 ribs. So, you know what? That motherfucker ain't going to jaywalk no more, I'm telling you.
Jeez.
Well, to answer the question there in the comments about the 14th Amendment, I'll just tell you guys, I don't believe that was ever lawfully ratified, or the 16th
Never
Amendment.
was.
So we've got the congressional records on all that stuff. It just doesn't exist. So
Hell, the last
we got a
5
couple
presidents have
states.
been illegitimized.
Yeah. Oh, hey, your daughter's on. What's up, Alyssa?
Yeah, I see her. All right, Alyssa. All right, here's the next subsection, I guess. Freedom versus convenience. Andrew, do people trade freedom for comfort?
Yes, almost every time, or freedom for the short term relief. For instance, they think that, let's say, for instance, you go to court and you pay a lawyer to take care of the issue. All right. Well, they kind of put a patch over the issue. Don't ever really fix the issue. So, and they'll never get reparations for you, and you'll always lose, no matter what you lose. It's not that you want to give up the freedom for convenience, but you give up the freedom for a little bit of normalcy. So if you knew that signing up for parole and a whole bunch of other stuff would get you into another situation and on another list, because you wanted to do the right thing that the judge asked you to do and finish that out, do your debt to society, but you didn't know that was basically indentured servitude to this person who just became your new daddy. And and at that point, let's say this guy that was jaywalking, let's say he got all the way through the court system. They didn't give 2 shits about his injuries. Now he's, fined with all these fines for, like they even tried to put me on house arrest for absolutely nothing. So you end up on house arrest, you have to pee in a cup, you have to get tested, a whole bunch of other stuff, just because you jaywalked down the street and some cop had an attitude and decided to write a report that the attorney's office is going to review, go by the officer wholeheartedly and never ask you a fucking question.
Yeah, it goes against their, the whole narrative, what they're trying to do. But
the prosecutor's office will actually, they will refuse to talk to you, even though they're the ones pressing the false charges against you.
Well, we'll talk offline about that. I mean, there's things you can do.
All good.
They have to give you everything that they have that they're trying you for. So
yeah, no, the thing that gets me about all those situations that we're talking about is the officers, they're usually never held accountable. It's more the community. The community, if there's a lawsuit, the community's paying.
Yeah, and
not
that's
the
part
officer,
of the reason.
Not the department. And it's just a bunch of bull. So
that's half the reason why I haven't filed an insurance claim against the city or the police department or anything, because they're the ones paying for it. It's not it's not coming out of the police department's pocket. It's not coming out of the county pocket, because ultimately all those pockets are everybody's pockets.
Yeah.
Like I feel bad even trying to sue the city or sue it sucks, because you can only hold them fiduciarily responsible. But I just want the people out of their jobs and put people in there that can do the job.
Exactly.
That's not too much to ask.
All right. Well, Adam, this is for you. Is reclaiming when you reclaimed your political status, was it empowering or burdensome?
Well, self-governance is not easy for those who are not used to taking care of their own personal affairs or their families. I take care of my elderly mother, take care of my daughter. My son's old enough to be on his own. I'll still help him whenever he needs help. But and anything related to them, whether it's the trust estate of my mother, whether it's things to do with my daughter pertaining to school, or any court related stuff, to the parenting arrangement, all that type of stuff. You have to know how to navigate the different jurisdictional lanes, which I'm pretty good at. I've been kind of just taking it easy. I laugh at them down there because they just assume that they have jurisdiction and authority, and they haven't even met certain burdens. They haven't even perfected service in a lot of situations. And they'll sit right up there, and they'll just act like they have discretion to do whatever the hell they please. And that's just not how it works. So I have to look at them like this is a joke, right? Am I being punked? Where's the camera? I know there's a fucking camera somewhere. Somebody's gonna jump out. So anyways, when this stuff, like, I'm not just some off the street punk, sitting here with a hat and glasses. I've actually studied this stuff for over 2 decades. So I know what the hell I'm talking about. And yeah, I'm very passionate about it because more people need to step up. It's their civic duty to know who they are and to know the different lanes that they can navigate in. It doesn't always have to be by non-disclosure where you just sign your life away. You ever heard that statement from like one of your parents? Oh yeah, go ahead, sign. I remember when I was down the
sign your life away.
The guy told me right there, here, sign your life away.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing it in anything. You get a CD or you get a new printer or new anything. You're always signing some registration, some all kinds of bullshit.
Agree to these terms. Are you not a robot?
Well, Andrew, here's the hot topic question for you. Do you want freedom or do you want something else to be responsible for your life?
I want freedom. Like, can I actually answer the question that you had asked him earlier? The last.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
My answer was it was both empowersome and bothersome, mainly because it's a whole mindset change. It's a whole nother way of thinking. You've got to like change your whole entire view on everything, because once you realize the truth, you understand the lie.
True. Yeah, it's a little of both. That's what I'm talking about with people who aren't used to doing everything for themselves because of the little, shimmer of or sliver of freedom they think they have if they just go with the flow, just sign their life away. It's easy to go that way, if you want to live in the shadows and never be heard, and not operate, all the different lanes of who you truly are, all your different, persons. But, it comes down to, it's not for everybody. I would highly recommend that people do the research. I always tell people, look, if you can't, navigate life on your own, standing on your own 2 feet in your square, don't even bother with it. If you're not going to step up and, do the thing and do your due diligence and do your research, then it's not going to benefit you or anybody else. Especially if, say you get in trouble, now you're crying to everybody. Well, if you did your research or you went and talked to the right people, who could get you where you need to be for that information to benefit you, and like say you got a case or whatever, we have some people who can help you navigate that. I think one of the main ones left our litigation committee, but there are people out there in other states that are very clever, that can educate you up on what you need to do, at least give you something.
I think a good term that I've heard is I can't help you if you can't help yourself.
Right. Help me help you.
Help me help you.
Yeah, I think it's, freedom. I've said it before. Freedom's really scary. People don't realize that. Self-governing is really scary. But, in our jurisdiction, to be free to self-govern, I think it makes you way more responsible because you're taking it on yourself. You're taking the accountability on yourself. And, we go over this once in a while, like, when you're traveling in your automobile or conveyance and you're over their speed limit, they pull you over, say they don't pull you over. You never hurt nobody. You never done nothing wrong. But if we're going to be free, and we have members out there in the audience watching this or going to watch it and think that you can just go as fast as you want in one of these automobiles, You can. You really can. But I'll tell you what, if you cause somebody harm, the consequences could be life. That's what the self-governing is. You got to know you can do stuff, but you're in control of your destiny. So you drive 35 miles an hour in school, 25 in school zone. You know, you're not crazy. You got to learn how to self-govern yourself. You know, you actually become a better person. I think I have. But yeah, our laws are draconian, man. You know, take somebody out doing something very irresponsible like that, you're going to hang.
Right.
And I think it might take a couple of those incidents happening before the community goes, holy shit, they just hung somebody.
Yeah, we're not advocating for any of those things, speeding, drinking and driving, drugs, any of that type of stuff. However, those are self-infliction cases, and that is not a state prerogative. There's plenty of literature or case law out there. Problem is, the statutory world, the majority of the time, will not hear certain types of things. There's all types of case law that would just fuck their day up. They just don't want to hear it, and attorneys are never going to bring those type of case law because now they're shitting where they eat, right?
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with a couple of those cases, and they hate it. They hate when people bring them up. The MCO has nothing to do with what we're doing, St. Frog Dog. I mean, it's not that hard to get. A lot of times they have offices that are specific for MCOs, but a lot of the time they'll tell you that MCOs are specifically for dealers, either for dealers or for dealerships. So that's one of the hurdles that you got to get over, but it's not even necessary for what we're doing because there is a withdrawal from the program form. Like in Ohio, I think, what is it, the 4411 form? Problem is that the Attorney General's office, who's supposed to maintain and implement the apprenticeship program and the anti-theft program, he's not doing a very good job, doing what I asked him to do, which is to put an opt-out, because people have a right to own their property outright, and they shouldn't be being forced into registering their property as an asset to the state now. And that's what would make you waive your rights now to be under their policy enforcement.
In Missouri, they call it RAS. I don't know if it's called that where you're at. Recovery Assistance Service. Suspicion. Reason, articulate suspicion, and then Recovery Assistance Service.
Okay.
There's two different ones. So
that's the program you're talking about?
Yeah. So RAS is Recovery Assistance Service. So this is why you license your vehicles. Why you want to involve the state in having a hand in your vehicle is if your vehicle is found, it can be returned to you. That was that whole entire implementation of the whole license plate. That's why it was supposed to be there in case it was stolen. You left it somewhere, whatever. Your property could be returned to you. That was the service the state was supposed to provide.
This was created pre-GPS tracking, too. And alarm systems have evolved now to where, I got apps and everything that hook up to all my stuff. So you take my bike, I'm going to know.
I mean, you don't need that service.
New section.
No.
New section. The fear and doubt and the social pressure.
Right.
Adam, why do people hesitate to change their political status?
Well, usually there's some type of fear, the fear of the unknown. A lot of assemblies or earlier on, a few years back, maybe going back 4 or 5 years ago, even further back than that, we've talked to people before things have developed up to this point, where they just felt like things weren't moving forward. They had no backing if something should happen. But again, this all goes back to, are you doing due diligence, studying, researching, knowing how to navigate your lanes for all your different persons? You got about 6 of them. And, you shouldn't be doing anything wrong anyways. We're not saying go out and be a dumbass. We're saying follow our public law. If you have any problems, there's certain educations you can get. Usually once or twice a week, there's some type of class going on. You just show up through Zoom, and a lot of times there's all kinds of printable PDFs or documents you can print out at home. And you have the stuff on hand to keep rereading. The more you read it, the more it's going to become part of your.
Adam, you went silent for some reason. I think he's frozen.
Oh, did he freeze?
Well, anyways, I was going to say my part is for the fear and doubt is, the hesitation is, I see a lot of people, even my own kids, once in a while, they'll be like, well, we'll wait and see if it works for you, or we'll wait to see if you get this or if that happens. And that really, that irritates me. It really does. I don't try to let it on, but it does. You can't wait. You got to take the step forward. No one's coming to help. It's you. It's us. It's all together. So we got to step forward. I'm not done with the sheep anymore. I still, they're around. I want lions. I want the lions. That's why I'm asking you guys to come on. That's what we need more of. We need more people that are going to just take the steps forward. Take the brunt of everything for everybody else. Because if you're going to sit around and wait and hesitate and be afraid, that's understandable. But the lions are going to go out there and get stuff done, and then we'll welcome you in. But don't sit here and say, hey, I was helping.
Right.
Favorite term.
We all need to get on board. Go ahead, Andrew.
Favorite term my mom used is he's talking out his ass again, and I'm just like, you know what? All I did was read a few books. I'm like, that's all you have to do too. Like, I don't know if you can see these. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a New Testament thrown in there, but they're easy books to get, and all you have to do is read them. It's crazy that like all it takes is just a little bit of an open mind and a couple paragraphs, and your whole entire world can be turned around.
Oh yeah.
Right. Just takes a little bit of, you got to assert yourself. You got to focus. Give yourself a half an hour a day to read.
That's what I was gonna say about compliance. Here's because we just get into what to do if an officer. Real world scenarios. Do we hit that?
Yeah. I think we skipped over, but go ahead. Say what you got to say.
Okay, so a term that I picked up while I was put away for 7 days was compliance or violence. So I know that like compliance is a thing, and that everybody wants to stand up and assert their rights as soon as they come up against an officer. But I'm going to tell you right now, treat the officer with respect. Even if they're not going to treat you with respect and they're going to beat you up anyway, just take the hits. Don't swing. Don't touch them. Don't do anything. Because as soon as you touch them, you're automatically the bad guy. And they can escalate any way they want.
I guess it depends what we're talking
about. About that a lot, like especially roadside piracy.
Yes.
When these pirates stop you, there's no sense in arguing with them on side of the road. They don't understand. They don't comprehend the stuff people want to tell them. The stuff that state nationals want to educate these guys, they're not going to learn it there on the side of the road. So you might as well just not even talk about it, but there are things you can do like we've done, get rid of the registration, right around with a placard. It's no big deal. If in Ohio, in the state of Ohio, they'll send you confirmation that you are out of the registration, you just show that to the officer, and there you go.
That's
corporations let me out.
if there's not an opt out, if the attorney generals aren't going to do their job, which we know they're not going to, because they're in vacated positions and they're just there to profit and push the narrative that they do, then you have to be able to vest yourself with some type of protection. So it says right in the program that you can withdraw and that you have a right to put whatever placard or decal you see fit on your personal conveyance or automobile, right? But it also says that, you might be scrutinized by certain law enforcement. Okay, well, that sounds like a problem that they're not getting trained or educated properly in their Lieber Code training, right? Which we know they get very, 40 hours once a year, and they usually go over the majority of the stuff is the same year to year. So it's the
I
same
see
thing
it
in the
like this.
military.
I see it like the CPR class. Is it 15 compressions, 2 breaths, or is it 15 compressions, 1 breath, another 15 compressions, or are we just doing compressions? Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same type of stuff. And, a lot of times when codes and things change, revised codes change or get updated or go away altogether, which a lot of them should be because of, Chevron being overturned. Now it takes away the mechanism administratively in these traffic courts for them to, unless if you injure
Now there
somebody.
has to be a judgment.
Yeah. So a lot of that type of stuff. And then there's plenty of other cases, that have recently been overturned or won. And so that kind of takes away any reason for them to bother you at all, traffic infraction wise. Even if you go through a red light or a stop sign, if you didn't put nobody in danger, just, leave people the hell alone.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
think go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Andrew.
I think it's crazy how many people don't even know about the Chevron case or how big it actually was and what it affected. Because now every single debt that you have that goes to a debt collector, everything that goes through a court system, you can now have thrown out just by showing up and knowing how the process works.
Right.
Yeah. Shit. Well, hey, this one's for you, Andrew. It's with the fear and doubt and social pressure. Do you ever have any fear of making any mistakes since you became a state national?
So what I found out was I wasn't really afraid of making mistakes. I was afraid of the recourse from some of the stuff that I sent out. But like, again, it is what it is. I'm just trying stuff at this point. Nobody's doing their job. So who's going to check on it? So, and then seeing if, right. So
you got the right guy here, man.
Huh?
We'll talk soon. We'll get you going.
So, I'm sorry. I what was the question again?
Did you have any fears of making mistakes?
A little bit in the beginning, because of some of the IRS stuff that I was looking into, because of how I saw some people get their houses taken and a whole bunch of other things. But then finding out that it's really, really simple. And I know this is going to sound really crazy, but the bond that they're trying to charge is your birth certificate that's registered with the Secretary of State. And again, it sounds crazy, but they're charging the bond and then they're charging you an amount for the bond. So they want release of the birth certificate, but they hold the birth certificate. They want to release it to themselves for an amount. But that's your straw man. So it's just a paperwork transfer. Why they have to lock you in a cage is beyond me. But when they do all this paperwork, they don't tell you what they're doing. They don't tell you what's going on, but it's a really simple process to get yourself out of that situation to where they can't hold any legal action against you. And there's a difference between legal and lawful action. So they can only hold me to lawful action. So I would actually have to have hurt somebody or damaged property in an amount that's crazy, that's unreplaceable, to even be held for something.
Well, they're not giving you disclosure that,
Oh, no, I've asked for that too.
Yeah, after a certain period of time, they're going to claim that you abandoned security interest or your property altogether, or both.
And I've asked for the performance bond, bid bond, pay bond. I've asked for the bonds. I've asked for, you
can go on Fidelity and look up what your birth certificate's worth. I mean, I've done that numerous times. I've got a couple birth certificates. So
run the QSEP number.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey guys, I think we've covered enough tonight. We're a little over the hour mark, but I think we should call it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we got one last question. Actually, just one last question.
Yeah,
one last question. What would it be?
Each undecided man must answer. What would convince you to take responsibility for your political status?
Well, I don't need any convincing. I was just, I think I was born a certain way where I don't like taking people's shit. I don't like people telling me what to do. And, I've never been a bad man. I don't like being told what to do. I like being free.
Right.
And I don't break any statutory laws, really. So other than that, I just want them to leave me alone. But now that I've became a state citizen and was elected sheriff, I'm taking on a whole new outlook. I'm here to help my county. I'm here to help the people in my county. That's what I want. I want to protect them because some of them just aren't or don't have maybe the courage or something to step up in front of these people, and I have it. So that's what I'm willing to take. I want to take the arrows for them.
The cities that perpetuate the homeless population.
Right. I have a fun fact for both of you guys. Did you know that the typical person on a day-to-day basis supposedly commits 3 to 4 criminal felonies?
Mm-hmm.
In the statutory system, the way that it's designed, that's how it's set up. Is for you to be, yeah, you're an enemy combatant to the state, a belligerent. It's funny that they call you all these things with no proof, or nothing's ever brought against you, but yet, right off the bat, you're an enemy combatant, a belligerent. That sounds like domestic terrorist activity to me, but yet they turn the table around to where they're treating you as a domestic terrorist. So we just need to talk about that stuff, a lot.
Yeah.
And that also comes down to misinformation as well too. So, for instance, with us, so the whole state national sovereign thing that we have adhered ourselves to, it is sought by the FBI and the ADL as being an enemy combatant or domestic terrorist. Well, first off, the FBI is untrustworthy from go, and the
I think
ADL
we know that.
And the
From the last
Anti-Defamation League,
administration.
yeah, the Anti-Defamation League is a strictly Jewish organization that hates all Christians,
Right.
basically. So, and this country is inherent Christian, and that's what people need to realize, that a lot of these people that are being signed into office and they're being sworn in on a Quran, that's a no-go. That's an automatic, that oath of office don't count.
Exactly.
Well, it doesn't once they become a foreign agent anyways. That
Yeah.
nullifies it.
Well, and if you have dual citizenship to another country, you can just deport yourself. That's
Yeah.
how I see it. If you have dual citizenship to another country, you can take that other passport, you can shove the American one you have up your ass, and you can take it to the next country.
Right. That's deport worthy.
Yep.
All right. Let's wrap it up. Andrew, do you have any social media you'd like to give a shout out to where the people can see you at?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Those are the only two that really don't block me. I have a YouTube page, but I don't post very much because it blocks a lot of the stuff I put up.
All right, that's good. Hey, I just wanted to remind the viewers, we do have a Cash App. If anybody would like to donate, it's $APC140. And we're kind of asking, if anybody, just $1 or $2 would be fine. It all adds up and it helps out the channel. We appreciate it. Andrew, thanks for stopping by. Really like it. Adam, like normal, thanks a lot. Doing great. And everybody out there, just remember, it's not about you. It's about your children, about your community, about your country. Your system only works if you stay asleep. So wake up, stand up, and speak up. We're out of here. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. We'll try to answer some of your questions tonight, tomorrow, in the chats. Back with you. All right, we'll see you later. Thanks a lot.